And welcome, everybody. Welcome to the International Brotherhood of Magicians official podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Jason Michaels. I am your host, and I am joined by my co-host and also our guest. We've got always here Ben Young and Scott Cantrell, and we have the esteemed international president of the International Brotherhood of Magicians, Mike Dunagan. Mike, because you are so esteemed, does that mean that the podcast now is also esteemed?
Well, we hope so. We're
Okay.
trying to work in that direction. I just want to know what the appearance fee is.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
do you not tell him, Jason?
It's for the exposure.
Oh, that just went full circle.
You know what? You know what? Actually, it legitimately is for the exposure to some extent, right? Where
you just send me, you just send me your appearance fee, and I'll see if I can negotiate it down.
Fair enough. You mean my appearance contribution?
Just like most clients do to magicians.
Yeah.
But welcome everybody. It's been we've been a couple of weeks since our last podcast, and we're excited to be here to share with you some fun and some magic. Real quick, Ben, Scott, what's going on in the magic world, in your magic world? What's going on in Las Vegas? What's happening? What have you been up to? Tell us, Ben, what have you been doing?
Well, just been trying to book things, and here in Vegas, it is one of the magic capitals of the world, so I assume there's still magic happening.
Yeah, yeah. Don't you have a
thanks for
magic
checking
show
in.
coming up? Don't you? Aren't you trying to?
Yeah.
We can
Yes,
tell them.
As of the time of this recording, I do have a public show I'm doing here in Vegas coming up next week.
What is the date?
It's going to be after this comes out, Jason. So thanks for
Exactly.
joining
That's
the
why-
podcast world. Or sorry, no, I mean it's going to be before. It's going to be done before this podcast airs.
I should just edit this whole part out, but I won't. So
You really
all right, let's
should.
keep going. Let's keep going.
But the gist is that Ben's working.
Oh, yeah.
He's out here, he's working, and that's all anyone needs to know.
And Ben, I
Doing
heard
my thing.
that show that you just did in Vegas, that public show, I heard it was awesome. Really, really well.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I
sold
couldn't-
out, great
sorry I couldn't be
crowds,
there.
standing ovation.
This
It was
is what
it was a
happens.
highlight. It was the highlight of my life.
Exactly. When people know who you are, they come and see you. Scott, what's cracking in your world, man?
House of Cards a little bit here in Nashville. Got to hang out as of this recording. Taylor Hughes is in the showroom this week. So got to hang out with our pal and good friend Taylor Hughes. Always a blast. Working here and there. Got a few gigs coming up in May. And then super excited about July. July and beginning of August. I'm gonna be in the magic world for like 6 consecutive weeks.
Something's happening in July. What?
Easy.
July 4th weekend, Society of American Magicians is having their national convention here
in Nashville. Yes.
So if you ever wanted an excuse to come to Nashville, come to the SAM convention. It's going to be fun. And then obviously I.B.M. Houston coming
and it's looking good too.
Right after SAM. It was a few days after SAM, I guess. It's going to be a super sharp, fun convention in Houston. And we'll talk more about that, I'm sure. And then
absolutely
August, I'll be going out to Magic Live, which is always a blast. So yeah, fun times.
Good times. Mike Dunagan. So
Yes,
I want to know, because I would say, what have you been doing magically? Now you're in Atlanta, right? You're in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I want to, since we're kind of talking magic to just kind of kick off the podcast, tell us, I know I read your article in the Linking Ring when it came out a couple of months ago. So, but not everybody has. And then we have folks who are listening to or watching the podcast who aren't even I.B.M. members. Tell us a little bit about you. You are a mentalist. Is that correct?
I am a mentalist. It's
okay.
True. How I perform. And I'm not a working professional. I am what am I? Magician in training, maybe? I don't know. I do gigs and I do some public shows, but probably no more than about 15 a year. I would love for that to go up in number, and perhaps once this role is behind me and I move back to civilian life, I'll be able to start being a little bit more aggressive with that. But I love performing. I love magic, always have. and I started off like so many of us in magic, found a book when I was young. Mine happened to be the Amateur Magician's Handbook by Henry Hay.
Henry Hay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great book.
And it's really good that I got it when I was probably, I don't know, 10. And just stumbled across it at a drugstore book stand, and bought it and had a blast with it. But it's good that I got it when I was that age, because I look back at it now, it was the paperback. And I want to say that was perhaps published in, I don't know, 6-point type. Good thing I could read it then, because I don't have a prayer of being able to read it now. I need the larger type version, no doubt about it. But anyway, loved magic all through elementary school and high school, and performed some working my way through college. But then as my professional life and career started after I got out of college and got married and had children, I never strayed from magic. I never walked away from magic, but it definitely had to take a back burner. So, and then.
Hey, hang on a second. I want to, okay, just come back to this thought in a second. Because I'm fascinated, because I've heard, I know a lot of people who have, for whatever reason, they fall in love with magic and then they step away from magic. And like you said, you didn't completely step away, but I know people. And I always, whenever I talk to somebody like, well, I'm stepping away from magic, I always think to myself, see you soon. Because what always happens is they take a break, only for at some point life slows down or whatever. And all of a sudden they're like, I fell back in love with magic. I mean, is that not a pretty consistent thing that we have found? I mean, does that make sense? Am I tracking? Am I just talking to myself?
I will tell you.
Tracking.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what the other guys think, but I hear it all the time. And part of the joy of this job is getting to talk to a lot of I.B.M. members, and I can't tell you what a common discussion that is. Now, everybody's reentry point seems to be different. Some when they retire, some when they reach a point where their kids, where they're empty nesters, some much earlier than that. But it seems to be a very common thread. But I think it's because we all fell in love with magic as a kid, and we never completely fall out of love with it. I think it kind of becomes a part of us.
It's just, I mean, it's a passion, right? It's not like it's,
And there's just so many different ways to engage with magic too, right? Because you have the people that they want to be full-time. There's the people that want to be weekend warriors. There's the people that just want to do it for friends, family, or coworkers. And there's people that get into it, like you said, when they're empty nesters, but there's also people that get into it when they have kids and they realize that, oh, right, remember I used to like doing magic. Maybe my kids would like this, and they kind of get back into it. So there's just all those different levels,
And you've got just so there's so many different rooms of magic, as Eugene Berger would say, that there really is something for everybody. So, but it is, I don't think it's it's kind of a first love deal. I'm not sure you're ever able to walk away from it entirely.
Okay, so you kind of stepped away, but you didn't fully step away. What happened next?
Correct. So yeah, I did, and stayed away much longer than I would have liked to. But once my daughters, I have 2 daughters, and once they had grown up and left the house for college, I decided that I was going to be much more emphatic about getting back involved. In fact, speaking of Eugene Berger, it was missing a Eugene Berger lecture here in Atlanta.
Oh God, that sounds tragic.
Oh, it was. I was not a member of the I.B.M. at that point. I wasn't a member of Ring 9 here in Atlanta, but it was a Ring 9 lecture, and I was on their guest list, right? And so I would make a lecture here and there. And I had been looking forward to this Eugene Berger lecture for months. And literally the day before the lecture, a situation came up where I had to go on a business trip the next day, and I was on an airplane while flying west while Eugene was in Atlanta lecturing. And I said to myself then, that's it. When I get back to Atlanta, I'm going to find a way to recompartmentalize myself, to readjust my priorities, and get much more involved back in magic. And that's when I joined Ring 9. I think I'm the poster boy for it's never too late.
Well, tell us. I mean, what age was that for you when you got back involved with Ring 9?
I'm going to say probably 55.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. God, you are like the poster. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Listen, you don't know though how. I knew about the IBM and SAM when I was in high school, but both of them met forever away from me. So it just didn't seem logical. And honestly, if I'm going to be totally honest, I thought I wasn't good enough to be accepted into either one of those clubs, right?
That is
Either of
another
those
interesting
organizations,
point.
because I was proficient, but and I'm still proficient, but I in my mind, you had to have major chops to be able to get into the organizations.
So
And
debunk that for us.
what's that?
Debunk that for us. Tell us what the reality was versus what
Oh,
you said in your head.
I have never found a more receptive, accepting, and helpful group of people than those people I have met in the IBM. And I'm sure that's true throughout the magic community. And it just happens to be IBM I know best and can speak directly to.
And you're talking about all skill levels.
I'm talking about all skill levels. I mean, but I say many times that the only, and believe it sincerely, that the only requirement to join the International Brotherhood of Magic is that you love magic. You don't have to be good at magic. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your politics. It doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form, in any other way. You've just got to love magic. And if you love magic, then there's a home for you here in the IBM. There's a place for you, and a local ring that would love to have you be a part of it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So at any rate, so yes, I was a late bloomer, so to speak, and joined the international organization, and then joined Ring 9 here in Atlanta, and have been in love with it ever since.
That's awesome.
Busy
That's
with
awesome.
it ever since.
That's great.
But yeah, never too late. I'm speaking to you, whoever you may be. It's never too late.
I know that we've done a bunch of podcasts at this point. When I say a bunch, I mean 8. But
it feels like so many more.
It feels like hundreds. I have a hard time remembering a time when we weren't doing this.
Or at least talking about it.
But I know that there are some people who are like, okay, what is this all about? And so I gotta ask you, Mike, what the heck is a ring? What is that? I don't even know what that means. I mean, I do, but explain it to us.
Yeah, I will do my best. So rings are just our local chapters, right? Are the local clubs that are all International Brotherhood of Magician affiliates that all are a part of our organization, and we call them rings.
And they're all over.
The whole linking ring thing. Yes, they're all over the world.
Yeah, you might say they're all around.
Yeah, you might. I might refrain from that. I might restrain myself on that one. But thank you. No, but they're all over the world. We're in. I should be able to quote this chapter and verse, shouldn't I?
It's like
but we are
in
80 different countries and hundreds of rings around the world. North America, United Kingdom, Canada, well, North America, as I said, probably our strongest concentrations, but we've started a monthly call that we've named Ring Leaders Call. And that's where people in the organization, any member can join the Zoom call, and we talk about how we can improve rings, how we can bring more value to the ring members, how we can be a stronger organization from our roots, which are our rings. And we get people from India, we get people from Hawaii, we get people from, we had someone from China not long ago. Wow. I mean, it's a terrific, the purpose of the calls are great. And I think everybody enjoys talking about what they've done successfully and learning from others. But the exposure to all of our rings has been phenomenal. And one of the things that's really helped me recognize is that we have rings of every size and scope and skill level. And it's not, when we talk about how, for example, we give more back to our rings, how we bring more value to being an IBM ring, it's not a one size fits all conversation because all of our rings are so different from each other. But they are throughout the world, or they are out there and growing every day. I think we're on a nice growth stretch right now.
So I want to know more about why you got into mentalism, because I think the thing that some people don't realize about magic, when you perform magic, you get a lot of questions, and people ask things like, "Oh, do you ever get fooled by magic?" And what I always try to explain to them is how many different facets there are to the art, from sleight of hand to kids magic to mentalism. I mean, it's just a huge subject.
Yep.
What got you into that?
So I was in college, at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs! Sorry, had to slip that in. But I was a marketing major at the University of Georgia, and I had to. And one of the courses I had to take was public speaking, and speech writing and things like that, which actually came in handy in my career. So it was kind of nice when that actually pays off. But the last assignment in one of my speech classes was we could do a speech on anything we wanted to. And I immediately went, well, okay, I'm going to do something with magic. And my professor approved that. Well, at the same time, I happened to have run across a book on mentalism that I had bought. And I should be able to remember the name, and it should be sitting on that bookcase, but I can't think of it at the moment. But it was the first real exposure. I mean, almost every book on magic has a slim chapter on mentalism. Yep. I think most of them have about the same 14 tricks and routines, but this one was an entire book on mentalism, and it was so cool. I got so into it. So I decided to do a mentalism routine. So I did a book test, and with ping pong balls, throwing them out, and forcing the number. We won't go into details, but
describe real quick what that means. What when you say a book test, so you're going to read somebody's mind? What is that?
Yeah,
what is that?
Yes. So the concept behind a book test, right, is you have someone in the audience. First, they'll select the book that they want to choose. Then you will get them to choose a page and perhaps a particular sentence on a page. They can choose the sentence on the page. They can choose the word count, how many words down in that line that they want to use. And they find a word in that book on that page in that line that they focus on. Only think of it mentally. They don't speak it out loud. They don't move their lips when they're reading it or anything like that, because otherwise it's a dead giveaway. And my job as a mentalist is to read their mind, is to be able to uncover what word it is they're thinking of at that particular time and reveal it to the group. So it's kind of one of those foundation topics and directions in mentalism, or book tests. And
that's unbelievable. I mean, it's an unbelievable feat.
And honestly, to a lay audience, to me, I get blown away all the time by some of the book tests that come out on the market. But to a lay audience, I think it's just this side of a miracle. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things that I've learned to love about mentalism is, to me, and this may be a strange analogy, but to me, mentalism is as close as you can get to close-up magic for a person.
I agree.
Because they experience it personally, mm-hmm. right? They may not open their hand and see 4 red balls instead of 1, or whatever the case may be, but it may not be happening in their hand or whatever, but it is definitely happening in their head. And mm-hmm. just like the person that you're doing close-up magic to, without that person, and without that person being involved, and without you doing a good job of creating a relationship with that person, your magic's going to fail. It's going to fall flat. So to me, it's almost like sleight of hand magic, close-up magic, but from a stage, or maybe not, maybe as a walk around or a close-up situation as well. But
I think that's very astute, because I 100% agree that I think that with like something like close-up magic, it has such a massive impact because it's so interactive. And then you have mentalism, which to me has always kind of, it's funny because when you track magicians, there are so many close-up magicians that get into mentalism later on. And I think it's because of this, the impact is similar. The technique is often different, but the massive impact and the big difference really between something like sleight of hand and mentalism is that with sleight of hand, an audience, if they understand that you're performing sleight of hand, then they go, "Oh, this is someone that's very skillful." But when you see somebody who's doing mentalism, that is as close to real magic as you can possibly get because it is so incredibly intimate. It's like in your head. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it delivered correctly and in the right setting. I just think that it's hard to beat the impact of that it has on that individual. It's cool.
Let's get some of the guys asking questions. Ben, what you got?
So Mike, we were just talking about the book test. When you perform it, you see the impact that mentalism has on people. But what was it about mentalism that was interesting to you that got you started in it when you picked up that book? Like, what was it about it that was like interesting?
To me, I think it was particularly having spent, the first 10 years of my life with my nose in every magic book that came along at B. Dalton or wherever, because I didn't know there were magic shops that you could get them from. So they were kind of the retail version of it. But to me, it was so different. It was just a totally different vibe. It was a totally different persona. It spoke to me, and maybe because in reading this stuff, I was as amazed by it as most of my audiences will be when I do something for them. So it just, for whatever reason, don't know that I've ever been able to really put or thought about putting my finger specifically on the reason, but I think for all those reasons, it called out to me. And I think we all find areas of our own little niche, right? Our own areas of magic that speak to us more so than do others. Maybe it's card magic, maybe it's, like you say, sleight of hand, and for me, it was mentalism. And then I got into then I went to an auction, a magic auction here in Atlanta for a gentleman who had passed away, and happened to buy the entire Richard Osterlin DVD set.
Oh, wow.
That's helpful.
There you go.
And man, I was all in. I really was.
And then you haven't bought any magic since then.
No.
Been said.
No, it's and listen, spending a year of going to lots of conventions and stuff has totally not impacted my bank account at all.
Yeah.
As it relates to dealer rooms.
Actually, well, just a note that actually ties into my question, Mike. So your segue was perfect, just like we rehearsed. I was interested. So being IBM president, you have the liberty, the privilege, but also the responsibility of being visible, of being the face of the I.B.M, not just in North America and the U.S., but truly all around the world. And I know you've been making the most of that. I'm curious, in terms of those experiences, can you cite fun or funny or really unique experiences, over the last several months of your travels as I.B.M president? What are some of the highlights or interesting or funny or weird things that have happened?
Good question.
Yeah, give us the weird things.
Yeah, and that's immediately where my mind goes. And darn, I'm not coming up with many weird things.
Yeah, it's because it's a family show.
Right? The concept of a magic convention is leaning weird. No truly weird moments immediately jump to mind. Probably lots of little ones along the way, but it has definitely been one of the really fun parts of this job, and this job in general has been fun. I've enjoyed almost all of
it. Today, not so much.
Yeah.
Present moment excluded. But I have had the opportunity to go to a fair number of conventions, not nearly as many as are possible to go to. Good grief, I would never have seen my wife in the last, which may have been fine with her, but in the last year, better part of the year, if I went to everyone that was out there. So you kind of have to pick and choose, which is hard. But there have been some really great ones. I went to the British Ring convention back in what is that? Was September maybe? Not too long after stepping into the role, and they were fantastic. It was in Wales, and that's Wales, unless you're Southern, in which case it's Wales. But it was fantastic. A great convention. The people attending could not have been kinder, could not have been nicer. They translated some of the British for me, some of the British terminology for me. But
you really, didn't have to put anything in the boot, did you?
No, I didn't have to put anything in the boot.
Okay, there you go. There's some of that British.
It's the one British word Jason knows. He tries to do it. He tries to use it in every conversation.
I would have been looking in my closet to see what shoes I brought rather than in the back of my car. But still,
boom, he got it.
There you go.
Still, took me a minute to catch on, but I get there sooner or later. Better late than never. So yeah, I loved the British convention, and then had the great opportunity to go from Wales to London, traveled to London, and got to visit the Magic Circle.
Ooh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, that really was kind of one of those. This whole year has been full of bucket list kinds of things. I mean, from the operational side and being able to help manage an organization like this, to the really fun and get out in the field and visit with rings and and attend conventions. It's all really been a terrific experience. But yeah, visiting and meeting the members there and getting to spend an evening there was terrific. A gentleman by the name of Derek Oliver, who was a terrific IBM member there in London, and always over here in the US, was kind enough to be my escort, and it was a great experience. Coming back to this side, I'll tell you my most surprising convention.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll hit a couple of other really good ones too. But I think so I went to Cadabra this year.
Yeah.
I am a mentalist. There aren't a lot of children's shows featuring mentalists. But certainly it's more than just children's shows. It's family entertainment and entertainers. But I had never been to Cadabra before, and I don't think I've ever been to a convention that was, for lack of a better term, more joyful than Cadabra.
That is cool.
Everybody there, it's a little different approach anyway. It's a little more teaching and educationally based than just magic lectures and teaching new tricks and that sort of thing, buying new tricks. But the people that were there were thrilled to be there. They were just happy to be able to get together and talk about the concepts and the approaches and the way you build family shows and children's shows. And the performances were fun, but everybody there was so friendly. Everybody there was just literally thrilled to be there. It was joyful is kind of the only term I can think of. And yes, as a mentalist, I did buy a hand puppet. So yeah, I guess
that hand puppet knows what you're thinking, so be careful.
And sooner or later, I might figure out a way to work him into a mentalism show.
So Mike, we should talk sometime, because that is very funny. Quick tangent, but it's related. I live in Nashville now.
Right.
Opryland theme park, while it still existed, I went there one time. I got to go one time. I bought a puppet.
I know
my parents bought the puppet. It's what, Jason?
I said I know this fellow, this puppet man.
Yes, Jason.
You know where this is headed?
Jason knows my puppet, Ronnie. They've hung out. I have pictures. Anyway, the point is, I put a routine together with Ronnie, and it's not a mentalism routine, but it is a mentalist-esque piece of magic. So we should talk about that.
We'll definitely have to talk. Now, if I'm really going to be honest, I've actually bought two puppets. One's a chicken.
This is not like a confession, Mike. This is the I.B.M. podcast.
But it's
I don't know.
It's good for my soul. and I know my wife won't be listening to this, so
yeah.
I'm off scot-free. No offense, Scott.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, but yeah, I actually have two. One was the puppet I bought there, and one was a puppet I bought at the last I.B.M. convention from David Ginn, his dog, his sheepdog, which is just such a fantastic. So, and they have been broken out to entertain my granddaughters, but they have not made it into an official show yet. So, but yes, we will definitely talk. I'm looking for some good mentalism routines.
So we're Mike and I are going to be writing a book called Mentalism with Puppets for Kids, and it's going to be coming out in 2034. So everyone be looking at it. It'll take us that long to create that much material. So
just another job for the publication committee.
That's right.
Nice.
You got to take the time and test it all out. You know, you got to put in the hours, get the reps, work out all the kinks.
I've got to balance that with life expectancy, right? I mean,
it goes. The more you work on puppet mentalism, the lower life expectancy is an indirect proportionality there.
It sounds to me like we should fast track this.
I like that. Yeah, it's got potential. Scott, we will talk about it.
All right, I'm down.
I do want to say that with it being a hand puppet, there is a which hand joke in here with the mentalism.
That's true.
I don't know what the joke is, but it's there.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
So much fun.
This podcast has gone off the rails.
Wait. I got to get this out or I'll forget. And now it'll be documented in a podcast that everyone will get to listen to. What if, that's a great idea, Ben. What if you made a prediction, and this could be a magic trick too. It doesn't have to be a piece of mentalism. There could be a prediction or an object to impossible location, and the puppet's doing the whole thing, and the object is in your hand that's been working the puppet.
That's cool. That suddenly feels like we're putting together an adult show. But
yeah, right. Well, it's easy to go that way.
Interesting point.
Where did that key ring come from? Would you like your card back? No, I don't. But I love it. And besides that, it's now documented, and so you've got first.
Yeah, it's mine.
That's what we do here, man.
Until someone comes to me and says, "No, this was in Linking Ring, 1937."
Yeah, well, and it probably was. It probably was. Everything has been in the Linking Ring at some point or another, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, Jason.
That's okay.
Perhaps.
Well, so I do have another question, but you were talking about conventions and Cadabra. Did you want to finish? Was there a finale to that story, or did we just kind of get sidetracked?
Was there a finale? Well, I will mention two more because all of the, like I say, all the conventions I've been to have been great, but got a chance to go to the Winter Carnival. Winter Carnival Magic and Pigeon Forge. Their 50th, y'all's 50th, because I think all of y'all are involved with it or have been at one point or another. It's 50th annual convention, and sadly, potentially, possibly, its final episode of it all. But that was a fantastic convention. Again, it's really interesting. All kind of a common theme to all these that I think I enjoyed so much is the mindset of the people who were there. What I loved about Cadabra was the joy of it. What I loved about Winter Carnival, besides the fact it was packed full of fantastic talent and dealers and lecturers and everything else. But again, everyone who was there were so appreciative of the Winter Carnival and its history and the shining example it's been for the entire magic world of what conventions can be and how you maintain them and continue to make them viable and valuable to people. That again, it was kind of a love fest for Winter Carnival, and which was great because it could have also been somewhat morbid, right? I mean, it could have been a lot of people walking around kind of depressed about it, but that's not the way the attendees approached it. So that was a great convention. And then it was kind of an interesting two week span. I left Winter Carnival, left Pigeon Forge on Sunday, drove back to Atlanta. My wife and I did, because she joined me at Pigeon Forge, and then we traded suitcases, and at 5:30 the next morning drove to Atlanta Airport and flew to Vegas for the Mystify. But the Mystify Magic
Festival.
Magic Festival, right? And it was another phenomenal experience. It was, of course, that's Leo Orleans and who put that on, and it was the very first Mystify convention. So I went from a 50-year final convention of a cornerstone of conventions in the U.S. to a brand new concept, new approach to a convention in Vegas from Mystify, and that was equally cool because again, everyone who was there were just flat out excited to be there. It was Leah did a terrific job putting it together. It was so accepting and so open and so supportive of everyone who was there that I think it kind of again brought out the best in people and people being there for great reasons. So all three of those, and I had never thought about the connective tissue between them, but all three of those I think fall in my favorite category, and all of them had a very similar kind of emotional feel to them.
That's right.
So I'm wondering, in a second, I want to get a little bit more into sort of the I.B.M. itself and, what you've seen as far as, because it's way different when like all of a sudden you start participating on the international level. So I think you have an interesting perspective that some folks would want to hear about. But real quick, I just want to touch base on one more thing. As far as the type of magic that you're doing and the type of mentalism that you're doing, what is it that, how do you find, I guess there's kind of two questions. I'm trying to figure out how to bring it down to one. But as far as the material that you choose to perform, is there something that about it that speaks to you? Are you trying to find a way to incorporate something about yourself, like your something from your life? How are you creating magic or mentalism that is impactful to the folks you're performing? And are you doing it more on stage, or are you doing it more in like a sort of up close and personal type of setting? Because I find this really interesting. I think our listeners are going to find it interesting too.
Yeah, great questions. I'm not sure that was one question.
It was three.
Yeah, kind of. And I'll answer it 4 times. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it's a great question. For me, first of all, primarily stage. I will do some close up here and there, but I'll be honest, most of my time is spent on my stage show without enough time or opportunity to really get as proficient in close up walk around mentalism as I would love to be, and again down the road hope to move in that direction, but mostly stage.
Okay.
And I like a stage environment.
Yeah.
And and again, my shows are, as are most mentalists, very interactive with the audience. It is. I tell people when I walk out on stage, hey, thank you for being here, because if you were not here, I would not have a show. Right? I mean, if there aren't minds to read and people to influence in the audience, then I just stand around and stare at people for 45 minutes or whatever. But my shows do have a theme to them.
Okay.
Not a spoken one necessarily, not even one that perhaps people recognize, but I've kind of I have a overarching storyline that kind of pulls everything together, because in mentalism you can go in so many different directions, right? I mean, again, there are so many offshoots to what mentalism means and what you can do from a performance standpoint, that it can be 10 versions of mind reading, which can be kind of boring, or it can be everything from psychological influence to hypnotism to cold reading, right? And those are pretty disparate, a wide assortment of concepts. For me, I am primarily kind of a traditionalist. I'm kind of a traditionalist, I hope, with a sense of humor. I don't play it dead serious. I want to have fun. I want to have as much fun as the audience does, and I know if I do, they will, generally speaking. But last thing I do is anything that is negative or would make a participant feel uncomfortable on stage or anything else. because their participation is so important to the success of my show, and to their experience. But from a storyline standpoint, I generally my routines are a little longer than they are in a magic show, right? I mean, the short ones are 3 minutes, maybe. The longer ones, actually, I do an Australian book routine to close my typical stage show that probably goes 11 minutes.
Good Lord.
I know, but there are like 4 revelations.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's not a one note book.
The 10-minute speech followed up by "You're thinking of
giraffe."
It. You're thinking of the word it.
Yeah.
Stephen King was obviously in the audience that day. But yeah, so they can be weighty, they can be lengthy, I guess is the right word. But so I might have 7 pieces in a 50-minute to a 60-minute show, varying speeds and varying pace and such, but that's kind of ballparkish what I'll have in it. And what I do is I look to deliver a show in thirds. The opening third is I'm going to show you what I can do and what the human mind is capable of. Maybe not stated like that or whatever, but I'm going to show you my talents. And then the second third of my show is, Scott, quit writing this stuff down.
He's making notes.
I'm taking notes.
He's got a new routine he's working on.
A good idea. My second third is I want to show you what you can do, what you can accomplish. And it moves from being what I can do to entirely what my audience can do. And let them amaze themselves, right? Let them be shocked at what the human mind is actually capable of doing, even without a lot of practice. And then the final third is, now let's work together and see what we can accomplish. So it's me, it's them, it's us. And that's kind of the flow that I try and build for the show, and ultimately the experience that I want people to have, because so this is going to sound a little strange. If you do mentalism enough, even to the dozen, 15 shows, whatever that I do a year, if you do it enough, you run across weird stuff. Here's your weird stuff story. I mean, you have things happen that you can't explain, that shouldn't happen. And I'm not saying, that mentalism's real and that we're all psychic or anything else, but it's a strange world, and there's far be it from me to say what's real and what isn't and what can happen from time to time, because I have had, don't ask me for an example, but I've had situations where things have gone wrong in a show that turn out right for some crazy reason. Wow. So at any rate,
that's how I think about my whole show, actually.
What, it goes wrong but happens to end right?
Yeah, everything just goes so bad, but people still like it.
That's what the reviews say as well.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, your finale is self-working, so you're going to stick the landing.
That's true.
Well, wait, aren't they all self-working?
That's a good thing.
And impromptu.
Right. So at any rate, so that's kind of the way I approach a show. It's the way I try to build out my shows. I want them to walk away going, wow, that was cool. Not so much that, wow, Mike's cool, or the performer's cool. It's like, wow, that was a cool experience. And did you see that guy? I mean, how in the world did they know that was the date, or what, whatever it may have been, the big finales of different routines may have been. I want them to walk away feeling like they were part of it, that they didn't just watch it, they experienced it. They didn't just experience it, they were part of it.
That's great.
So
I think that's a really nice outline for a show, actually. That's really
good.
I do
too. That's why I wrote it down.
Yeah. We got to keep it. Go ahead, Ben.
Nope, never mind. No, I was just going to say, so many shows, it's just you take a bunch of tricks you like and you put them in an order that you think kind of makes sense, and then that's it. But having that structure is really, really nice, where you don't even really have to hammer it home that much. Like you kind of get that feeling, and I just love that.
Oh, thank you. It truly came from wanting my audiences to not be so concerned about me but be concerned about them. And I think because I've always believed the more personal you can make it to the individual watching it, the more you can make it be about them, the happier they're going to be, the better they're going to view your show and your performance.
Let's keep it tight because we're starting to run out of time. But before I ask one or two final questions, I want to give it up to the fellas, see if you guys have anything. You can make about anything you want. We can talk about the IBM. We can talk about Mike's mentalism, whatever.
Going back to the puppets.
Okay.
We covered that.
No.
He didn't.
Oh, God.
I have a question, but it may be part of what you're going to ask. I'm curious, getting re-engaged in the Atlanta ring at 55, and now you're not that much older, Mike, but you're president of the IBM. So what made you decide to jump into that leadership role and take that on? Because it's not, I mean, obviously it's very clear that you have a passion and you love magic, but serving in that capacity is just not for everybody. So what did you see, or what was your experience, or what was the inspiration for saying, I want to contribute back in some way?
No, well, and that's pretty much the driving motivation behind it. I've always been a strong believer that what you get out of something is completely dependent on what you invest in it.
Yeah.
And I knew if I was going to do it, and it's one of the reasons, honestly, why I waited so long to get back in. I knew if I did it, I wanted to be able to give it a lot of time and attention and really make an impact, look to make a difference. So in joining Ring 9, fortunately, Ring 9 has a fairly long history of providing international presidents for the IBM. And we have a lot of professionals in Atlanta who are part of the ring. It's a very supportive ring. It's a very, I think, successful ring. But I had a lot of great role models, younger, older, and everything in between. Role models aren't just necessarily people that are older than you are.
Right.
So that was an important part of it. When Ken Scott was in the chair system working his way up to president, he asked me if I wanted to. I'd been ring president for about 2.5 years during the COVID years and such, the year before COVID and kind of the year after. And that had gone well. We had survived. We didn't lose membership per se, and we were on some good growth patterns. So Ken asked if I would like to be involved at the international level, if I would be interested in being nominated for the board as a member at large, which I agreed to. And then once there, it just kind of progressed from there. I became involved with more committee work. I got involved with more parts of with the convention and other parts of it that I felt like gave me some good experience. And I was fortunate that in my professional life, in my career, which has always been in marketing and advertising on the strategy side and the management side and the writing side, more so than design. But I was fortunate that I had worked for some great people and some great managers, and felt like I could. I say all the time, I certainly am not the best magician who's ever going to hold the office of international president. But what I can bring to the table is some management experience, hopefully some leadership skills, and being able to take us on a forward path that I think as an organization we need to go down to continue to be relevant, to continue to be as strong as we are today and have been in the past. So that was kind of my motivation behind it. And then when it came time to make the decision to step up to the chairs, my wife and I talked about it, because it's obviously something that is a time impact on our relationship in my time. She agreed, and then so I did that. Then I technically retired a year before my administration started, before I stepped into the office. I kind of suck at it. I haven't retired very effectively, but because I'm still freelancing, doing some marketing stuff, but for the most part.
Oh, you sucked at retirement. I thought you said, I thought you were talking about something completely different. I was like, you suck
Sorry.
as president? Really going to say that out loud?
Well, thank you for backtracking on that, in case I gave the entire audience here the same feeling. No, I suck at retirement. That's what I have felt miserable. Yeah. Fortunately, the business side, the career side, and such, I struggled through just fine. But at any rate, so that's kind of how it happened, and that's about a 6-year, 7-year march that you think is an eternity, and you suddenly look back and you start. And for me, I start thinking this month, in about another week, I will write my final President's Page article for the Linking Ring for the June issue, because you're writing ahead.
Yeah.
So it comes and goes so much faster than you think.
Ben, what insights or questions? Final insights, final questions for Mike.
I love that you got back into Magic a little later, and that you've just gone all in with it, to a level that a lot of people won't. I mean, a lot of people won't be I.B.M. president, or even, on the board or anything like that. So just your level of involvement is awesome. And, I think that you bring a lot to the table, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
I'm so happy we got that recorded. It's going to give me something to put on a loop whenever I start my day. Just remember. Well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. It's been, listen, and I said all the time, it's my absolute honor. This is, again, just serving in this position is another one of those bucket list things that if you had asked the 15-year-old me, I would have never thought I'd be a member, much less in the position I am today. So it's great to be able to do it, and I've enjoyed it.
All right, as we start to wrap up, Mike, my final question is this: what are you most proud of that the I.B.M. is currently doing? Because it's a tough question. You've been involved on the international level now for 5-6 years, so you've been involved in a lot of things. But is there one or two things that you can say, I'm just really proud of? Because and let me just say this: you are working, and I know this because I am part of the whole process as well. I'm on the international board, and I mean, I'm part of that whole thing. But there's some really great people that really talented, hardworking people, and so this might make this question even more difficult. But is there anything specifically that you can say, I am the most proud of this that the I.B.M. is currently doing, or that we've changed? I mean, whatever. Just, it could be whatever you think.
No, I think that's great. Let me ask you, how much time do we have left?
Keep this to 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, because I do want to talk for a minute about the convention as well.
Okay.
Which is one of the things that I'm proudest of. But from a reality standpoint and from an operational standpoint, I would have to say, first and foremost, the group of people we have on the board today. And we are always, and by the way, if you're out in the world listening to this, don't for a second be hesitant about finding ways to get involved. We've got committees that always need more hands. We've got the entire board of trustees, where we're always looking to bring new talent in, and people with different perspectives and everything else. And that's really important to growth as an organization. So I strongly encourage you, if you're interested, don't sit back and wait for somebody to ask. Be proactive. Contact somebody, and contact Jason. He's right now in charge.
No, don't. Wait, no, yes, that's fine. Go ahead.
Program. Yeah,
that was just an odd. That's like a knee jerk when you hit it with the mallet. Sorry about that.
That's
yes,
right.
You can contact me, of course.
So, but I think over the years, I have seen the board become a very cohesive, strong, culture-oriented, and a very positive culture-oriented association of people who are truly focused on the good of the organization, of how we make the I.B.M. better, how we make it more meaningful to our members, and how do we make a bigger impact with it. And I think that's so important today. The world of Magic has changed and continues to change, and is going to continue to change. And that means that we have to change with it. And sometimes change is marvelous, and sometimes it's a little bit painful. But I think that if we don't change, we will become, our other option, or our other path is extinction. And I don't think any of us want to see that, nor do I think it's going to happen, because the leadership group today is very proactive, very future oriented. And I think taking on some projects and some programs that will truly make a difference in this organization moving forward. We've got a new website that's under development that I think will take us to a new level of member communication and new levels of interaction with the membership, which I'm very excited about. We've got the ringleaders call. I guess the other thing, rather than go item by item, that I'm pleased with how it has shaped up this year is I started the year with a strategic plan. First thing we did, and actually before I became president, worked with the board of trustees and putting together a strategic plan for the organization that identifies 4 main cornerstones for our future success, and the kind of continuity we need from administration to administration to make that happen, because we're all in it for 1-year terms as far as presidents are concerned. So it's really important that we, as a group looking 4 or 5 years down the road, are all aligned. Not that we all think the same, not that we don't have our nuances that we focus on when we take over as president, but that we all stay focused on accomplishing the right tasks, and that we're solving the right issues and taking advantage of the opportunities. So that's something we've put in place. I think we've done a really good job of establishing that concept and establishing some of our major goals. So will we get as much done this year as I would have loved to have gotten done? No. But I don't think it would have been humanly possible. Will we get more out of this year? Enough out of this year that I'll be really proud of what we've accomplished in the paths we've started down? Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. So people are listening to this probably the beginning of May, and that means they have about 2 months to get fired up for the convention. We've been talking about the convention a lot over the last couple of months. Tell us about it. What are you excited about? The talent just keeps getting, more and more people keep getting. Javi Benitez was recently announced, Babel.
Yeah.
It's just stacked.
By my count right now, we've got 22 international stars performing, lecturing, and being part of the Houston convention. It's staggering. And I've got a list here in front of me because I am too old. I can't keep them all in mind. But just to name a few names, Dan Sperry, Zabrecki is going to be there. If you've not seen Rob Zabrecki before, don't miss this opportunity. He is a classic study in character development and how you execute your character through your performances. He's phenomenal. John Allen, Joan DeCore, Babel. You mentioned Diego Vargas? Did you?
I didn't mention Diego Vargas.
Hobby. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. It is an amazing collection of talent, and honestly, it's so much more than just talent. What Ben Barnes, who is our talent chair, one of the things that Ben does a terrific job of doing, this is his second year in that role, is putting together a talent base that's not just, we've all been to conventions where that you have one of those stars of magic come out and they do their 30-minute set, their hour set, whatever. They maybe answer a couple of questions during a lecture series, and then you don't really see them again during the convention. They kind of disappear, or and that's fine. But Ben puts together a cast that are there with a purpose. They're there to make sure that they meet people, that they interact with people, that they prove to the world that they're just normal people like everybody else, and will have a conversation with you and answer your questions. It makes such a difference in the culture of the event and the way that event is felt. We talk about it, Jason, I think it was your line, talking about it as a family reunion kind of convention. And it is. It really has that feel where you are, you're there as much to see people you've met over the years or meet new people that you don't know before as you are, as much at least as you are for the talent lineup. But both are phenomenal.
And it is exciting. It is an exciting time. For more information about the IBM convention, you can check out ibmconvention.com, where they have the schedule listed as well as all the talent. There's information about the Lance Burton Teen Seminar, which is now open to folks who are from 12 to 21 years old. So I guess it's not the teen seminar anymore. It's like the youth seminar, but don't tell the branding committee that I just said that. It's just also, if you want to learn more about being a magician and being involved in the International Brotherhood of Magicians, check out magician.org. We have all sorts of resources for you, and we want you to get involved with what we're doing, because you can be involved on both the local level, as Mike was telling you about the rings, but you can also be involved on the international level. You can attend Zoom meetings where if you don't have a ring nearby, you can still participate, and we want you to be involved. We want to help you become a better magician, or just become a magician in the first place. If you want to reach out to us, all of our handles, all of our emails, all of our contact information will be in the show notes. If you've enjoyed this podcast, leave us a review. Tell folks about us. Feel free to click 5 stars. And if you don't want to click 5 stars, then I was going to say something clever and I got nothing. So I should, oh well.
Just click 5 stars.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate, Mike. Thank you for being a part of the IBM podcast. For Ben Young,
guys.
for Scott Cantrell, my name is Jason Michaels, and we will see you down the road. Take care, guys.
See everybody.
Thanks, everybody. I
Bye, y'all.
appreciate it.